Hello and welcome to News Round, where we do your recap of stories that made headlines during the week. Coming up, tragedy strikes in Jigawa State as petrol tanker explodes in Majia Town, Tara local government area. Death toll rises to 170. House of Reps demand immediate petrol, cooking gas price hike reversal. Nigerian Economic Summit marks 30th anniversary, and Chief Economist laments the Nigeria's poverty rate. Plus, Israelis celebrate killing of Yahya Sinwar. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his death doesn't mean an end to Gaza war. I begin News Round on a devastating note in Jigawa State, where a petrol tanker exploded at Majia Town, Tara local government area, an incident which led to the death of about 170 people, while 50 others were injured and those have been hospitalized. The incident occurred around midnight on Tuesday when a tanker driver traveling from Kano to Nguru in Yobe State lost control near Khadija University, Majia. According to the state's police public relations officer, DSP Lawan Adam, the disaster was triggered by residents who had rushed to collect petrol after the tanker overturned.
At 11:45 p.m., a petrol tanker destined for Yobe State after taking off from Kano ends its journey in Majia Town in Taura local government area of Jigawa State, spilling its volatile content. Residents sadly do not heed to the constant warning of not scooping fuel in situations like this. The lure of profiting from petrol results in a horrendous explosion. It's a visit that a Jigawa governor would rather not embark on, but he is here and promises to pick the bills of the injured.
Those in the hospital, the government will take full responsibility of their medical bills. Apart from the secondary facilities we have in the state, we have also make arrangement with the tertiary facilities, Amini Kano Teaching Hospital, Federal Medical Center, Brununkudu, and Federal Medical Center, Unguru. For those that are in Hadija General Hospital, they have a referral center at Federal Medical Center, Unguru. And for those that are in Jahun, they have a referral place at Federal Medical Center Brununkudu, and for those in Ringium General Hospital, they will be referred to Kano Teaching Hospitals.
Chairman of the local government and NEMA at the burial noted that there will be need for sensitization in communities to keep people away from petrol tanker accidents.
Wanted a fact and fall. The petrol had been spilling in the drainage. The people in that area came out to carry the fuel, maybe to sell whatever they want to do. The fuel now catch fire, and we have the loss of 147 people right now. We have almost 89 in the hospital. They are hospitalized. Right now, I'm receiving a call that 3 of them died.
A lot of sensitization has been going on in Nigeria that people should avoid rushing into an accident vehicle like that. A big a tanker that is carrying petrol to be scooping oil. So there is a lot of sensitization about that, but people refuse to heed to advice. That is one of the reasons this calamity happened.
Locals dig the grounds to bury the charred bodies, an unpleasant but necessary task. Members of the community narrate the ordeal and count their losses as some patients have been transferred to Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital. This is yet another avoidable carnage, which leads to the question of how to ensure that Nigerians are sufficiently sensitized on the grave danger of scooping fuel when accidents like this occur.
And to the National Assembly, the House of Representatives is wading into the increase in pump price of petroleum products moved by the Deputy Minority Leader, Aliyu Madaki, and sponsored by 111 members of the House. The House is calling for the immediate reversal in the price increase in petrol and cooking gas. The lawmakers fear that the hike is causing hardship for Nigerians and threatening job security.
With 2 months to the end of the fiscal year, the status of the medium-term expenditure framework comes into focus in the House of Representatives. Raising a motion of urgent national importance, a lawmaker highlights a violation of the Fiscal Responsibility Act by the President.
The House further notes that Section 11, subsection 1b, stipulates that the federal government must, not later than 4 months before the commencement of the next financial year, further worried that the time the National Assembly requires to exercise its functions as enshrined in Section 88, subsection 2b, is technically being taken away by the non-compliance of Section 11b of Fiscal Responsibility Act by the Executive.
Another motion of urgent national importance is raised regarding the recent increase in the pump price of petroleum products.
Also worried that unless urgent and pragmatic steps are taken to control the rising cost of petrol and cooking gas, the nation will go into economic crisis, leading into negative outcomes like increased crime rate and mortality. Resolve to call on the federal government to reverse the recent pump price hike and take immediate steps to stabilize petrol and cooking gas prices.
The increases of food in this country, somebody who is earning 70,000 a month, his 70,000 cannot last him for 3 days in this country, in the same government.
Our concern should be the welfare of Nigerians, which I believe is not only in my constituency that the masses or the poor or the people are suffering. I believe most of the constituencies, people are suffering because of this increase.
We cannot make a caricature of the parliament by proliferating ad hoc committees to solve problems, whereas this same house has in its creation mandated a committee or an ad hoc committee to investigate issues or concerns in the petroleum industry.
Lawmakers also query the variation in prices across the country and its alignment or otherwise with the Petroleum Industry Act. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
And staying with the Green Chamber, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, is projecting Nigeria's GDP growth rate of 3.2% for 2024 and 3.3% for 2025. He stated this during an interactive session with the House of Representatives Committee on Banking Regulations. The CBN governor also reiterated the government's plan for the realization of a $1 trillion economy by 2030.
SAFE's Committee on Banking Regulations meets with the Central Bank Governor for an interactive session on policy measures and strategies to address domestic macroeconomic challenges.
For a country that relies on imports, this exchange rate crisis is not just an inconvenience, it is devastating. Nigerians are yet to see any real improvement in their day-to-day lives. Again, I feel we are all responsible. Unemployment, which increased by 5.3% in the first quarter of 2024, continues to climb as businesses are forced to cut jobs, largely due to harsh monetary environment and an unstable exchange regime.
The governor of the CBN speaks on plans to address the spiraling inflation in the country.
Our focus has been on how to stabilize the economy, restore investor confidence in financial markets, and provide a seamless path to sustainable growth.
The country's GDP growth rate, which has been a major concern, is also in focus, as Mr. Cardoso shares what could be some good news.
Projections indicate a growth rate of 3.2% and 3.3% for 2024 and 2025 respectively. Although positive, these estimates remain below historical averages, suggesting moderate rather than robust expansion. In the second quarter of 2024, the economy grew by 3.19%, up from 2.51% in the corresponding period of last year, driven largely by non-oil sector. Similarly, the industrial sector, has shown remarkable improvement, with its growth rate surging to 3.53% from 0.31%.
According to Mr. Cardoso, the foreign exchange reserves have grown significantly to $39.12 billion as at October 11, 2024, from $34.70 billion at the end of June 2024, driven largely by foreign capital inflows, receipts from crude oil-related taxes, and third-party. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
And lawmakers in the upper chamber have passed a vote of confidence on the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, and the entire leadership of the Senate in the 10th Assembly. The unanimous resolution came under a matter of privilege raised by Senator Yahya Abdullahi, representing Kebbi North.
Echoes of allegations of an impeachment plot against the leadership of the Senate still reverberates in the hallowed chamber 24 hours after.
Actually, the full meaning of Calabar.
Northern senators were said to have been behind the alleged move to oust the leadership. Although the Senate president dismissed it as fake news, lawmakers were apparently uncomfortable with the development.
I consider my privilege breached for anybody to bring division across ethnic or regional lines. Is undermining the progress of our democracy and is undermining the capacity of this institution to deliver.
Unsatisfied, another lawmaker takes the matter a notch further.
I've seen no reason why such rumors should emanate. And believe you me, if there are indications that we're not comfortable with their leadership or the leadership of the Senate President, we're not going to do a fake news. We'll come promptly and tell you that we are not comfortable. Now, this is who we are.
Senator Ningi has moved a motion that a vote of confidence should be passed on the leadership of the Senate. Those in support that this vote of confidence on the Senate leadership be carried, say aye. Those against, say nay. They are not here. The ayes have it.
That done, Senator Sani Musa raises a red flag over the threat of collapse of the Zungeru Bridge, a critical federal infrastructure in Niger State, which has become a threat to human lives.
The diversion and disruption caused by the current state of the bridge has invariably restricted human and economic activities.
The resolution of the Senate with the letter from here, I think they should give it as an urgent matter. And it should be dealt with accordingly.
We should urge the Federal Ministry of Works to utilize the contingency funds domiciled in the Federal Ministry of Works or funds domiciled in the service livelihoods to cater for the immediate repairs of the Zungeru Bridge and all other bridges that are in this state of disrepair across the nation.
Meanwhile, the Senate has passed through second reading a bill for an act to establish Factoring Assignment Act, seeking to increase companies' cash flows and enhance credit management for micro, small, and medium-scale businesses in the country. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuki, Channels Television News.
Welcome back. Well, to other top stories during the week. The Vice President of the World Bank, Mr. Dermot Gill, says that Nigeria has the largest number of people living in extreme poverty globally. Speaking at the Nigerian Economic Summit 30th anniversary in Abuja, Mr. Gill notes that Nigeria's reforms between 2003 and 2007 led to impressive economic growth. He adds that the growth was not sustained, leading millions of Nigerians into poverty.
And this is my first time.
The 30th Nigerian Economic Summit is themed Collaborative Action for Growth, Competitiveness and Stability. The summit brings together key stakeholders to discuss and proffer solutions to Nigeria's economic challenges. Among those in attendance is Vice President Kashim Shettima, members of the Federal Executive Council, captains of industry, as well as development partners. The summit, which is jointly organized by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, NESG, and the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, is considered a reflection of the need for partnership to address the nation's economic challenges.
Today's challenges demand a new approach centered on collaboration to promote growth, competitiveness, and stability.
Before we seek cooperation and understanding of the broad spectrum of the citizenry, as there is indeed light at the end of the tunnel. The economy is facing the right direction and the decline has been arrested. What has been achieved is a result of boldness, resilience, and collaboration, and thus we need more to compensate for the decades of underinvestment and to ensure that we deliver a collaborative, competitive, and stable environment.
The Vice President of the World Bank, Mr. Ndemit Gill, who is also the Chief Economist of the International Financial Institution, has some concerns about Nigeria's economy.
Without solid progress in Nigeria, the Sustainable Development Goals that we all talk about will remain out of reach. Nigeria, after all, is now the country with the largest number of people living in extreme poverty, not just in Africa, but across the world. But Nigeria's reforms from 2003 to 2007 were exactly what was needed, but they were not sustained. Today's fiscal, monetary, and exchange rate reforms are hurting everyone, especially ordinary Nigerians who are struggling with the high prices of food and transport. The government must do everything in its power to protect the most vulnerable citizens against hardships because their lives and the lives of Nigeria's 110 million children depend on it.
Vice President Kashim Shettima represented President Bola Tinubu at the summit, and he explains how the administration's reforms will ensure long-term stability.
The present administration, through the Renewed Hope agenda, has embarked on bold and courageous reforms designed to create an environment that fosters sustainable economic growth and shared prosperity. Our focus is on sectors that can offer inclusive and sustainable growth, such as agriculture, manufacturing, and the digital economy. We have initiated various programs, such as the MSME hubs and single-digit loans for manufacturers designed to provide entrepreneurs with the support they need to succeed. We have also introduced the Credit Corporation to offer our workers consumer loans with single-digit interest. These initiatives collectively will boost the economy and ensure it remains competitive in Africa and globally.
The Nigerian Economic Summit 30th anniversary provides a platform for policymakers, business leaders, and stakeholders to discuss and propose solutions to Nigeria's economic challenges.
The chairman of the Presidential Task Force on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, has been speaking on the Nigeria tax bill. On the sidelines of the Nigeria Economic Summit, Mr. Oyedele explains part of the bill entails increasing the taxes of persons who earn above 1.5 million naira. Take a listen.
Thank you, Lily. The 30th Nigeria Economic Summit is here, and key players in the nation's financial sector from both the private and public sectors are attending. This session is focusing on fiscal and monetary policies, and experts bear their minds on how government policies are affecting businesses.
We have a very robust collaboration with fiscal authority. And that collaborative effort has started yielding results. And we believe this week too will not be an exception. We are going to talk with the monetary authority is already talking to the fiscal authority on how do we can come up with a model that we may not necessarily have to be releasing all this money into circulation at the same time.
Inflation and fluctuations in the foreign exchange market are some of the major economic issues in Nigeria. And with that, the representative of the central bank assures Nigerians that the interventions of the Apex Bank will yield the desired results.
Ease of doing business for us is very key right now, but we would like to see it formalized. Have a sort of like, and I think we're talking about it tomorrow, a policy compact to say this is how you can support us in the next 2 years and let us grow as a sector and get back to where we're supposed to be.
Participants at the forum also take time to seek clarity on the nation's tax reforms.
What they haven't realized.
The chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Reform and Tax Reform Committee gives some clarity.
If you earn 1.5 million naira a month or less, your personal income tax bill will go down. Of course, at the lower end, completely exempted. But if you earn more than that amount, you see it going up incrementally up to 25%. Today, if you earn 100 million naira a month, nobody hits 19% effective personal income tax rate. We're taking that up to 25% for the rich people. And that's because you need to balance the book. Why is that important? We also have the one around VAT. We looked at food, we looked at health, we look at education, we look at accommodation and transportation.
An earlier forum focused on regulatory policies where government officials promised to implement policies thrive.
And Israel's confirmed the successful termination of the head of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Could that possibly be the end of Gaza war? Well, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't think so. He says it's the beginning of the end. According to Mr. Netanyahu, the mastermind of a day of sheer evil was no more. He claims that Hamas leader was eliminated while fleeing in panic from Israeli soldiers. Meanwhile, celebrations broke out on the streets of Dert, a town bordering Gaza, following the news of the killing of Yahya Sinwar. Residents can be seen dancing and waving the national flag. While many Israelis celebrated Sinwar's death, the families of some held captive expressed grave concern for the fate of their relatives and called on Israeli leaders to use their military success to get a deal.
The mastermind of this day of sheer evil is no more. Yahya Sinwar is dead. He was killed in Rafah by the brave soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces. While this is not the end of the war in Gaza, it's the beginning of the end. To the people of Gaza, I have a simple message. This war can end tomorrow. It can end if Hamas lays down its arms and returns our hostages. Hamas is holding 101 hostages in Gaza, who are citizens of 23 countries, citizens of Israel, but citizens of many other countries. Israel is committed to doing everything in our power to bring all of them home. And Israel will guarantee the safety of all those who return our hostages. But to those who would harm our hostages, I have another message. Israel will hunt you down and bring you to justice. The axis of terror that was built by Iran is collapsing before our eyes. Nasrallah is gone. His deputy Muhsin is gone. Haniyeh is gone. Def is gone. Sinwar is gone. The reign of terror that the Iranian regime has imposed on its own people and on the peoples of Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, this too will come to an end. All those who seek a future of prosperity and peace in the Middle East should unite to build a better future. Together, we can push back the forces of darkness and create a future of light and hope for all of us.
And those were the top stories for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.